Hi, my name is Arthur Bailin, and I'm asking for your vote this election for the Finance Committee for the Town of Easton. This is obviously an interesting time to be running for the town's financial oversight body, given the ongoing discussion of the tax override. As a first-time homebuyer and someone in my 30s looking to start a family, the idea of taxes going up is a somber one. And I know that a number of people in town are concerned that if this override passes, they'll have to figure out how to make ends meet. With that said, I also strongly believe in good, stable governmental services. Strong law enforcement and efficient fire response doesn't come from scratch. It requires money to facilitate those departments. And the same goes for public works doing tireless work maintaining things that we take for granted in our town infrastructure. And of course, as someone who wants to start a family, our schools being adequately resourced is a must. So how do we square the two? The next few years are going to be absolutely critical for the town. And the choices we make will have a significant effect on the future of the town. I'm proposing and advocating for a town that makes common sense investments into things that will improve its fiscal stability and ways that we can invest in the future without relying on property taxes. The first is ensuring that our budgets are responsibly put together, not just focusing on wants, but prioritizing needs. As a town, we have to be pragmatic about investing in things and in people that work well for the town. We need to prioritize getting resources to the front lines rather than to the back to improve day-to-day experiences of our citizens. That means we need to invest in retaining, not terminating teachers where we can, and to work on ways to make law enforcement, fire, and public works jobs not just better, but more efficient and less costly. We also need to be clear on promises we make. If the override were to pass, we need to be clear that we will not place on the town meeting warrant another override for the time that the Finance Committee agreed to. If there's one thing that ought to be above reproach and one entity that should not ever go back on its word, it's government. Second, we need to make common sense investments to make Easton more welcoming for business. I dare you to find someone whose life has not been improved by virtue of having more small businesses like Shoveltown, Langwater, and Corfinio in town. Now, I applaud the town's focus on improving sewer access. There's a recent project to improve sewer access in parts of South Easton. That's a great first step and an example of things that we can invest in. Investing in commerce has the dual purpose of making our lives better while also creating a tax base that is not reliant on town services in the same way as residential taxes. Now, on that point, third, we have to build more housing. And I can understand why this is controversial, but it's a necessity. Eastern Massachusetts is in a major housing crisis. This isn't just an Easton problem, and it is creating skyrocketing housing costs that are also drawing property taxes way up. Now, on a human level, housing our neighbors in stable housing improves quality of life for everybody. I can go on forever about all the things that housing improves in our community. But from a financial standpoint, it spreads out the tax burden amongst more people and allows Easton to be a place where young professionals can set down roots. When my wife and I moved to Massachusetts, we lived in recently built multifamily housing. And we heard the opinions of why that building should not have been built. But to be blunt, we couldn't afford to buy a house at that time. There is a lot of people in our position where they just don't have the resources to purchase real estate right now because things are so expensive. And that apartment complex was a lifeline, and it allowed my wife and I to start a life in the Commonwealth and to save to eventually buy a house. We can be a place that draws in hard workers, entrepreneurs, people who want to invest in our town, and that will improve our town dramatically because it is so affordable and because of all the reasons why Easton is great. If we have affordable housing, it helps us be more attractive for commerce because it's cheaper to start a business in town and to live in the town. Now, I understand some people may disagree with this approach. The bottom line, though, is we have to make changes on how we approach town government and how the government funds itself. The market conditions that led to Easton facing this fiscal cliff aren't going anywhere anytime soon. And we could be back here soon in a few years if we don't make changes. But if we do make changes, we can make ourselves more fiscally stable, all the while improving life in Easton. I hope this sounds like a good plan, and I hope to see you on Election Day. Thank you.